and advance international awareness of the Tibetan cause. Throughout his distinguished career, Sikyong Penpa Tsering has championed democratic values in exile, empowered the next generation of Tibetan youth, and upheld the middle way approach. That's the policy of seeking genuine autonomy for Tibet through peaceful dialogue with China.
And elsewhere. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure. This is my third visit since I became Sikyong. And when I was a representative in Washington, D.C. for North America, I had visited Utah once or twice, I don't remember exactly. But I want to acknowledge and thank the Utah Tibet Foundation Board for organizing tonight's event, Karen, Penpa, and all the members who are represented here. I also want to acknowledge the generosity of all the Utah Americans who supported the Tibetan immigration program here in Utah. And it's always very nice to hear that the Tibetan community has become a contributing members of the community wherever they live. So we have learned to adapt ourselves as refugees and be a contributing member wherever we are, whether it's in the United States or Canada or Europe or Australia, everywhere. So we are spread across 26 different countries now. And I want to thank Governor Spencer Cox, Mayor Erin Mendenhall, Mayor Sherry Wood, Mayor Jenny Wilson for the proclamation that was read by yourself or your representatives. Thank you very much. It means a lot for us, not just for Tibetans in exile, but this message will go to Tibetans inside Tibet. So they will also feel that there are people who care for us, because Tibet has now become the largest open-air prison where you don't have any freedom that you take it for granted here in the free world. You can't even carry a picture of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You know, if Tibetan Americans go to visit Tibet these days, they look at all your phone, mobile, and see whether you have a picture of His Holiness the Dalai Lama or not. If you have a Tibetan name, whether you are a US citizen or Canadian citizen, any other citizen, then you are stuck at the airport between 2 to 14 hours these days when you have the opportunity to go to, and sometimes you get deported also. And Representative McAdams, I'm sorry I didn't recognize at the first glance, and Julie, because you both were there in Dharamsala, but we had so many guests on July 6th of this year celebrating His Holiness' 90th birthday that I couldn't spend enough time with you, but I know that you have been a great supporter of Tibet. You have contributed a lot in having this community center for the Tibetans, and many other friends, including Dinesh Patel here, our friends from India, our friends from Nepal, and our brothers and sisters from Mongolia. I was told there are 500 of them here in Utah. So all of you are represented here with the Tibetan community, the Americans. We really are very, very grateful for all the things that you have done for us. During the 90th birthday celebration of His Holiness, there were 216 media people in Dharamsala. And we had 950 artists from 10 different countries to perform at the celebration in Dharamsala. So Dharamsala is a very small town, but it was packed, jam-packed. And because of the rainy season, some roads were broken, so people had to suffer a lot. But for Congressman McAdams and Julie. It was a long journey for you, traveling from Chandigarh to up to Dharamsala by car. We also had guests from State Department, Riley Barnes and Jenny, Bethany and other friends, but they also had to take car from Delhi to Dharamsala, not from Chandigarh. They had to take a longer route. So I always keep telling them, this what will make it memorable, because you suffer a little more. So when you suffer more, then that makes it more memorable. You will never forget in your life. Maybe I focus a little bit on His Holiness' 4 principal commitments. Because celebration is one thing, as Denjula mentioned. She was my senior in the parliament. She was a member from 91. I became a member from 96. I'm accompanied by Mr. Namgye Chudup here, who represents His Holiness the Dalai Lama and also the Central Tibetan Administration in North America. But the message of His Holiness is more important. We always try to look at the brighter side of things. 1959, His Holiness had to leave Tibet. We lost our country in 1951, but the world gained the Dalai Lama. If Tibet had been independent as before, then His Holiness would not have traveled as much as he has done in this lifetime and contribute so much to the well-being of the larger interests of humanity. First, His Holiness always says, I'm one among 8 billion people in this world. So as one human being, my responsibility is to promote human values. That is the reason why His Holiness always treats, whether he meets a king or a president or a prime minister or a pauper on the street, for him, everybody is same. We are all same human beings. He always talks about the oneness of humanity. Whether you are white, black, brown, yellow, whatever, we are all human beings. We are all same human beings. We have the same human intellect. That is why His Holiness developed this curriculum called the C learning, social, emotional, and ethical learning. I know of institutions who teach social and emotional learning, but not ethical learning. That is why His Holiness worked with many years with Emory University to develop this curriculum, which is a very secular approach to education, not dependent on a particular religion. If it is possible for the mayors here and for the leadership here in Utah to experiment that curriculum. I remember accompanying His Holiness once to the United Kingdom, and one politician came to meet with His Holiness, and his first question was, Your Holiness, we have so much problem with youth. And His Holiness' immediate response was, everything is wrong with modern education, because focus is all on materialism, not developing your heart, not developing your mind. So this, I believe, is one of His Holiness' biggest contribution to humanity, the C learning, because of its secular nature. Because every religion talks about goodness of human beings, loving kindness, compassion, forgiveness, and everything. But we need to practice this. We need to teach to the next generation who will be responsible for running this world and for making this world a better place to live in. And the second commitment of His Holiness is interreligious harmony. His Holiness always says, I am a simple Buddhist monk. As a Buddhist monk, I practice Buddhism. And even within Buddhism, His Holiness segregates that into Buddhism as a religion for Buddhists to practice, including rituals. Then Buddhist science and Buddhist philosophy, which His Holiness believes that everybody can study, whether you believe in Buddhism or not. Just as we don't have one medicine for 100 sicknesses, we have many religions to cater to the mental disposition and inclination of different human beings in this world. So you have so many religions. The reason for spirituality and religion is to bring more happiness in oneself and to the community that you live in and to contribute to the national interests of that country. But then again, in the name of religion, we have so many violence. That is why His Holiness has led and participated in so many interreligious harmony with so many different religious traditions. That is also the reason why His Holiness has friends across religions, all over the world. So His Holiness always says, practice your own religion, but respect all other religions. That is the key message, how we can bring harmony amongst practitioners of different faiths. And the third commitment of His Holiness is Tibet. Of course, His Holiness is a born Tibetan. He's not just an ordinary Tibetan, but he is the Dalai Lama. So he has a responsibility towards Tibet and the Tibetan people. But it's not because Tibetans are important, because we have a culture that is rooted in nonviolence and peace. We have an environment that has impact all over the world. Tibet, we call our land as the land surrounded by snow mountain ranges. And I think when His Holiness visited Utah for the first time and saw all the snow mountains around Utah, His Holiness said, this looks like Lhasa, the capital of Tibet. So Tibet is also called as the roof of the world because of its altitude. When I visit countries like Japan, Australia, New Zealand, all other countries, I always ask them, which is your highest mountain? And the Japanese say, Mount Fuji. How high? 3,700, 3,800 meters. I tell them, that's like base camp in Tibet. You start climbing from there. Because the average altitude of Tibet is more than 16,000 feet. It's, to be precise, 16,010 feet above sea level. And Tibet is also now called as the third pole, because Tibet has the largest amount of glaciers and permafrost aside from the North Pole and third pole, the South Pole. And that is also the reason why Tibet is also called as the water tower of Asia, because all these major rivers in Asia, like the Yellow and Yangtze that flows into China, originate from Tibet, from the Tibetan plateau. If it is not for these two rivers, China cannot support its 1.4 billion people. And the Chinese civilization also came up on the Yellow River that originates from Tibet. The Mekong flows into 5 different Southeast Asian countries: Burma, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam. So we have our friends also from those regions who are downstream countries. Then the Irrawaddy follows into Burma. You have Brahmaputra flowing from western Tibet to eastern Tibet, takes a U-turn and flows into India and Bangladesh. Now China is building a mega dam there, which is going to produce 2.8 times the hydroelectricity than the Three Gorges Dam, which is the biggest in the world in China. And this is supposed, they're investing about $165 billion to generate electricity to transport to eastern China, because China is now the factory of the world, producing about 35% of world's manufactured goods. So they need all this hydroelectricity. And then Indus and Jhelum flow into Pakistan, into India and Pakistan. So Tibet is also called as the water tower of Asia. So all these countries that are named, from Pakistan to Nepal to India to Bangladesh, 5 Southeast Asian countries and China, are some of the most densely populated areas in this world. Some environmentalists estimate that between 1.8 to 2 billion people out of 8 billion people have something or the other to do with rivers that originate from Tibet. So, and people in Latin America also think, oh, Tibet is on the other side of the world. How would that have impact on Latin America, or for that matter, North America also? I read a scientific journal report about environmentalists having studied the correlation between Amazonia, the lung of the world, and Tibet, the roof of the world. When there is more rain in Amazonia, there is less snow in Tibet. When there is more snow in Tibet, there is less rain in Amazonia. So we live in an interdependent world. All this melting of ice, which is twice the speed of normal average around the world, also causes the heat waves in Europe. You will see more heat waves. Tibet is also called as the rainmaker because of the jet streams that flow over the Tibetan flat plateau, and the impact of El Nino warming up of the Pacific contributes towards where there will be more rain, where there will be more heat in the region. So Tibet's environment is very, very important, and His Holiness always talks about the Tibetan Buddhist culture. And His Holiness' fourth commitment is preservation and promotion of the ancient Indian wisdom. For that, His Holiness is now starting an now Tibetans are spread across 29 United States states in the United States and 7 locations in Canada. So for us as political leaders to visit every Tibetan single community, it's quite a task. But then we have to make that effort because we are getting physically more distant, but we have to be mentally close. And Tenzila also mentioned about the young Tibetans here who did all these dances, the Dashi Sheba, the snow line, and the snow line was not very strong. Most of them are born here in Utah. Yeah, and we run about 92 weekend schools around the world. So Utah is one among them, and Utah is one very vibrant Tibetan community, even though there are only about 350 to 400 Tibetans. There are much larger Tibetan communities in New York and Toronto and others, but Utah has become an example for other communities because after you had this hall, this is one of the best halls, community centers that we have. And with the help of Dinesh and other friends here on all tables, it's because of you that we have a community who can always bank on a community hall that everybody can come together. Otherwise, everybody will be doing their own thing and we may not have this sense of community. So thank you very much for all your help, all your support, and please continue to do that because we will have more challenges to face in the years to come. Thank you.
And now, what would a birthday celebration be without a birthday cake? Tenzin Kunseng and Chorar, former presidents of the Tibetan Association, will bring the celebratory cake up front.
Nam